And yes, we are live.
We are live?
Yep.
Yeah, hello. I warmly welcome you to our 78th webinar by the Academy of Space Renaissance International. My name is Sabine Heinz, and I'm the person responsible for our webinar series. I have to take down the volume of my iPad, if not, we have an echo. Yeah, and on this 17th of March, I'm really delighted that you have come to join us. And our today's special guest is Dr. Marie-Luise Heuser. Hello, Marie-Luise. She is still not here. She was here, but yeah,
Okay.
so I will welcome first our audience and Adriano Ottino.
Hello.
He is our one of our vice presidents and co-founder of SRI and former president of Space Renaissance International. Hello, Adriano.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
And you have been to any conferences or?
Well, we have several works going ahead in these days, and we will be in Paris in a week at the IAF spring meetings in preparation of the conference of Sydney in Australia. So we'll be there. There will be the selection of the abstracts, and so we will know who is accepted and so on. We presented many abstracts this year on several topics. Okay, Marie-Louise is joining again. Let's see.
Yes.
Then we are preparing the National Congress in Italy, in Catanzaro, that will happen in June, 13 and 14 of June. And we are holding preliminary webinars for that. So we have several appointments. So we are working with Federico II University of Napoli, holding some seminar for them on the topic of space medicine, and yeah, Susan Gerald will be we gave a lecture for the students, and yeah, we're making several things as always. Okay, but now we
Thank
have
you.
Marie-Louise, I
Now
think.
we have Marie-Louise Heuser back. Hello, Marie-Louise. Welcome to our webinar. Marie-Louise, Dr. Marie-Louise Heuser will speak today about space enthusiasm, cultural history of the early space pioneers in Germany during the Weimar Republic. And before I give you the floor, Marie-Louise, I would like to introduce you to our audience. Dr. Marie-Luise Heuser studied philosophy, history, physics, and mathematics at Heinrich Heine University in Düsseldorf, Germany, and completed her doctorate with a thesis on Schelling's philosophy of nature and physical theories of self-organization. She worked in research and teaching at the universities of Düsseldorf, Heidelberg, Stuttgart, and Braunschweig, Brunswick. From 2002 to 2015, she was a research assistant at the Department of Philosophy at the Technical University of Braunschweig and organizer of the Transdisciplinary Cooperation Culture and Space. From 2015 to 2020, she headed the Department of Culture and Space at the Institute of Space Systems at the TU, so Technical University in Brunswick. Since 2010, she has also been managing director of the Society for Culture and Space Travel. In German is it Gesellschaft für Kultur- und Raumfahrt e.V. And since 2020, she is head of the Space and Culture Committee in the German Aerospace Society. Since 2022, she is head of the Space Philosophy Laboratory of the Space Renaissance Academy. And since 2024, she has been delegate to UN COPOS. Her research interests are classical philosophy of spaceflight from antiquity to modernity, metaphysics, ontology, anthropology, philosophy of nature, and philosophy of art. Her publications include Transterrestrialism and in the Renaissance from 2008, Russian Cosmism and Extraterrestrial Suprematism in 2009, and Space Philosophy 2016, Space Ontology and Space Travel around 1600 and 1900, that was in 2016, Return to the Moon in 2019, and Heuser Phenomenology of Light in 2020. Man is not only there for Earth, Schelling's Philosophy of Space in 2020, and zur Philosophie der Raumfahrt bei Günther Anders. Günther Anders, also zwischen kopernikanischer Wende und Wiederverwurzelung in 2021. I don't know this word in English, so I cannot translate it immediately. Space Culture and Space Philosophy 2022, and together with Adriano Ortino et al., SRI position paper on the key critical issues toward 2030 in 2024. Marie-Luise, the floor is yours. You may share your screen.
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be with you, and I will start with my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, super.
Perfect.
My topic is space enthusiasm and the cultural history of the early space pioneers in Germany. My presentation here is the result of one of my lecture series on space pioneers at the Technical University in Braunschweig, which I held from 2015 to 2020. I would like to begin with a quote from Friedrich Wilhelm Joseph Schelling. He is one of the founders of German idealism and founder of Romantic natural philosophy. The German word Naturphilosophie for this specific form of philosophy has entered the English language like the word kindergarten. Here's a quote with the title Enthusiasm, a Romantic Mood. Schelling wrote, art arises only from the lively movement of the innermost mental and spiritual forces, which we call enthusiasm. Everything that has grown from difficult or small beginnings to great power and height has become great through enthusiasm. So empires and states, arts and sciences. But it is not the power of the individual that brings it about, only the spirit that spreads throughout the whole. For art in particular, like the more delicate plants are dependent on air and weather, is just as dependent on the public mood. It requires a general enthusiasm for sublimity and beauty. Schelling is of the opinion that all great cultural achievements arise only from the lively movement of the innermost spiritual and mental forces which we call enthusiasm. In modern psychological terminology, this means intrinsic motivation. As with a true artist who does not work for money, fame, public attention, or to save humanity, but out of an inner drive, out of an inner mission that allows him, for example, to compose novel symphonies that spring from his free spirit. So in Schelling's opinion, all great new cultural creations arise from an inner drive. This can be studied particularly well in the early space pioneers since the 19th century. They were all poor and earned virtually no money with their pioneering achievements. Nevertheless, they were passionate, often working through the night, driven by an intrinsic motivation. The spaceship they wanted to create was not primarily intended as a commercial vehicle, but as the space pioneers in Germany put it in a nutshell, it was like a work of art, primarily understood as a cultural achievement. In ethical terms, this is known as trans-utilitarianism, the purpose of a work of art or culture like in itself. Immanuel Kant had already worked this out well for aesthetics. Kant's ethics are not utilitarian either, nor are the ethics of German idealism as a whole. Utilitarian ways of thinking separate means and ends. This implies that an action is not performed out of intrinsic motivation, but in order to achieve an external end. In relation to space travel, this means that space travel is not pursued as a cultural task, but to gain something external, for example, raw materials. Of course, trans-utilitarianism and utilitarianism can go hand in hand. The study of the early space movement in Germany is a young field of research. Scientific studies on its members and their social networks have only recently begun. The majority of the legacy still lies untouched in the archives of the German Museum in Munich. The asking prices for historical sources are skyrocketing. For example, 650 euros for a little promissory bill from Hermann Ganswind. I had been studying the early space movement since around 2003. As an academic philosopher, I'm of course particularly interested in the philosophical connections and lines of tradition. Since I'm also a Schelling researcher and Schelling was the founder of Romantic natural philosophy, I could quickly recognize that the Romantic area had an important influence on the early space movement. It is still a mystery why the space movement, as a sociological and not just a literary phenomenon.
Marie-Luise, maybe
Yes?
maybe your slides are stopped. Could be.
No. The next is now coming. Sorry.
That is trans-utilitarianism and utilitarian.
Yes, I know. The next is now coming.
Is correct. Okay.
Yes, it's correct.
Sorry for interrupting you.
It is still a mystery why I have not all on the slides. I have also text here on my paper. It is still a mystery why the space movement as a sociological and not just a literary phenomenon emerged in Germany in particular, but also in Russia. My research thesis is that the enthusiasm for space and the famous rocket fever of the space movement in Germany during the Weimar Republic was a product of Romanticism in the 19th century Germany. Romantic enthusiasm, and I gave you a quote from Schelling, romantic enthusiasm was not primarily related to art as a visible product. Rather, it was related to the creative power that produces works of art. Schelling's view was that man's innovative productivity, which manifests itself in art, but also in all other creative products, is a creativity that does not separate him from nature, but continues the history of nature. What nature produces is an unconscious evolutionary way. Humans can do in a unconscious way. This means, this conscious, unconscious, this means that great creations always require also something unconscious, a passion that gives them wings of the spirit. Schelling's idea, I have not all here on the slide, you know. Schelling's idea of productive forces had an enormous impact on scientific and above all mathematical development in Germany. The founder of national economics in Germany, Friedrich List, was also a follower of Schelling's philosophy of productivity. He placed the main emphasis not on trade, as Adam Smith did, but on the innovativeness of the individual, something that cannot be bought, but whose prerequisites must be created, including, as Schelling writes, a public sentiment and general enthusiasm for the sublime and beautiful. The idea of productivity also had an impact on technical innovation in Germany. A particularly striking example is the early space travel movement in Germany, which was not limited to the literary, but moved from theory to practice with the development of liquid rockets in order to realize not only ideal, but real productivity. This was seen as the meaning of life. Today, we have lost this enthusiasm in Germany, I think. My acquaintances who have worked as engineers in China and India report that it exists there. We need, I think, a new renaissance in Europe, just as Adriano Autino has suggested. I fear that otherwise we will experience a harsh decline in Europe, which is already in full swing in Germany after decades of stagnation and green de-industrialization ideology. My following lecture aims to show that there were other times when people tried to reach for the stars, and there is probably no great culture whose people have not tried to reach for the stars. My thesis that there was an interconnection between Romanticism and early space movement in Germany cannot be fully developed here, but I have written a book. I think it would be published soon. I would like to use here more pictures to give you an impression of how art, philosophy, and technology interacted in the enthusiasm for space travel. And above all, I would like to go into a little more detail and in-depth looked at the example of Max Valier, who in my view was the main spiritus rector of this popular space movement in Germany. But I wanted only, but I think I have also to give a look to the end of this story, the tragedy of Romanticism in Germany. The tragedy was that the tragedy was that they had not the tragedy was that the space pioneers had not reflected enough on the fact that the product of their creative power, the rocket, could also be used for military destruction. The immense militarization that began under National Socialism with the finance minister Hjalmar Schacht and was financed with credits, like today, I think, also included the rockets that the space pioneers had primarily intended for the civilization of space, which they saw as a cultural task for mankind. Romanticism was continued under National Socialism as a return to nature, the so-called General Plan East, the so-called so-called General Plan East envisaged that after the conquest of the East, the major cities of the West were to be resettled in the East up to the Urals, and agriculturalization of Europe was to take place. The SS, who was responsible for the atrocities, the horrible crimes, such as Himmler or Heydrich, were by no means industrially minded. I think this is really a very false theory or opinion. They wanted, the SS and also the SR, they wanted so-called defense farming villages. I wrote about this story and about this history in my publication, What Began Green Ended Bloody Red, from the romanticism of nature to the agriculturalization and depopulation plans of the SR and SS. It's an older publication, but I think it's true today, also today. Okay. As a first piece of evidence, I would like to give you a statement from one of the space pioneers, Johannes Winkler. He wrote, if you see the formative in everything, you see the truth, the divine, and well done to him, for the joy of beauty, of creation, is the purest joy. As you see here, the reference to the formative. In German, it is called das Gestaltende, and das Gestaltende is a German word which is also had also into the English language as, for example, Gestalt theory, in German psychology theory. In this sense of Johannes Winkler, the work on the space rocket was understood as creation, that means as a service to God. It was a sacrifice, a service to God. In this sense, the work on the space rocket was understood as creation, and as a service to God, as I said. Johannes Winkler was a theologian with a degree in mechanical engineering, and yet became one of the important space pioneers, tireless building and experimenting with liquid-fueled rockets. He became the first chairman of the famous Spaceflight Association in 1927 and published the journal The Rocket. His legacy is extraordinarily fascinating, as it shows very precisely how themes from Schelling's philosophy of nature and art influenced his conception of technology and the overall creation of meaning. For Winkler, the creative is a divine principle, and thus creative work is a kind of worship. The creation of the rocket for the exploration of space was thus not simply the result of a passion for technology or even a desire for fame. It was a service to the universal good, the fundamental creative principle of the world. Like the other space pioneers, he understood space travel as a cultural task. I will discuss this later. Here, now begin my picture lecture. Here you have some of the early space pioneers. And here on the right side, you see Angela Buddenböhmer, which shows that also women participated in this space movement, and she experimented together with Reinhold Tilling on space rockets. I cannot give you an inside talk about all the space pioneers, but I want to begin with Hermann Ganswind, because Hermann Ganswind is not very well known. And I think with Hermann Ganswind, we can, or I can illustrate the fundamental connection between culture, art, and space travel in terms of creating public enthusiasm very well. This is the iconic Hermann Ganswind, who designed spaceships that worked on the principle of recoil as early as the end of the 19th century. He was born near Königsberg in East Prussia, today in Poland, but he lived in Berlin. And this is the special thing of Hermann Ganswind. He combined his space lectures with piano concerts of Schubert, Beethoven, and Chopin, which were all romantic musicians. Here you have a program, and you can see here which musics he played with a piano, a waltz, a polonaise, a waltz from Chopin, then the funeral march from Beethoven, the prelude and the etude from Chopin. And then at the part 2 came his lecture about airships, but also about spaceships in other programs. And then in the third part, he again played with his piano musics from Chopin and also Schubert. Also, to get the public excited about his space travel concepts, he gave lectures on space travel in the concert hall, also in the concert hall of the Berlin Philharmonie, and played piano concertos by Beethoven and Chopin. To illustrate the fundamental connection between culture, art, and space travel in terms of creating public enthusiasm, I think Hermann Ganswind is very important and decisive. To get the public excited about his space travel concepts, he gave lectures on space travel all over the German Republic, or the German nation in this time. In order to be able to do this, he learned to play the piano within 6 months, and had apparently perfected it so well that he was able to perform in public. He then gave lectures on airship and space travel, I think this is also he saw that he could only gain the public not only with theory and his technical innovation, but also innovations, but also he had to make music to reach the people. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of this of the program in the Berlin Philharmonie, but I found this program here, and I think it's also a good example for his activity. In his lecture in the Berlin Philharmonie, he had a motto, and this motto, I can read it. He who moves along the beaten track and only considers and cultivates everyday things, whose horizon measures only a span and eternal darkness, like beyond it. His goal will not be difficult to reach. He will easily return to his harbor. But he whose spirit penetrates into eternal distances, who leaps over all earthly barriers, who breaks new ground in the forest of exploration, longing for eternal goals, will go forth crucified. His reward will be in distant heavenly heights. Also will go forth crucified. This remembers to his own tragedy, because his innovations were not accepted in that time. And you can also read here in his lecture from the Berlin Philharmonie, we look for an expedition to other world bodies in order to study reality from such a different point of view and to draw conclusions. The first question that has probably occupied everyone's mind is this: are there living beings there? And what are they like? There are an infinite number of other Earths. The older Earth will have a better social system, he thought. The younger Earth will allow us valuable glimpses into history, as they are at a stage of development that we have already left behind us. Also, he thought that the evolutionary process of the universe would show that there were Earths as planets like others, like the Earth here where we are living, but that there were also planets with inhabitants which were much further developed, and also planets which have inhabitants which are lower developed. Here you see Hermann Ganswin's World Vehicle, das Weltenfahrzeug from 1891. He designed a spacecraft that was to be propelled by dynamic explosions using the recoil principle. He envisaged a two-stage concept. The spacecraft was to be towed upwards by a carrier. To this end, he developed a helicopter from 1884. The principle of spaceship propelled by black pulse explosions was planned by NASA as a nuclear pulse drive in the Orion project, also very later. Okay, he for his spaceship, he made another very important innovation, the first working helicopter. I found this in the internet, where and I can read here the sentence. The break came in July 1901 when Hermann Ganswin's helicopter made its maiden flight in Berlin-Schöneberg, which is likely to have been the first heavier than air motorized flight with people. Ganswind, here you can see Ganswind with his wife and 5 daughters, and with 3 bicycles that he also had invented. As a student, he developed a freewheel and wire axle for bicycles, which he which he later produced also in Berlin-Schöneberg. I now come to Hermann Oberth. Hermann Oberth is crucial for the space movement then in the Weimar Republic. So I have a lot of papers which I now not read here. Also Hermann Oberth, as space travel and rocketry gained popularity in Germany after the June 1923 publication of Hermann Oberths book Die Rakete zu den Planetenräumen, the rocket into interplanetary space. In 1929, he published an expanded work with the title Wege zur Raumschifahrt, Ways to Space Flight. Here you can see the titles of his philosophical publications, which he published after the Second World War. Menschen im Weltraum, Humans in Space, Matter and Life, and Catechism of the Uranids. I hope I spell it right. Especially his book about matter and life show his deep involvedness. He was deep involved in the romantic Naturphilosophie. I come now to Max Valier, because Max Valier, also only this, also later I want to show you more about Max Valier's work, but here only want to say that his publication Der Vorstoß in den Weltenraum, eine technische Möglichkeit, also the advance into space, a technical possibility from 1924, which was very successful, and which had 6 editions from 1924 to 1930. This book was a popularization of Hermann Oberth's more technical and scientific written book. And this popular book of Max Valier spreads this idea of the possibility of space flight into the whole population. I think in Germany they all know the book, The Advance into Space, and I think this was a starting point of the sociological movement of space flight in Germany. But Valier, so not Valier, so some call him Valier, but he called himself Valier. Also Max Valier understood space flight as a peace project. And he wrote in 1922, how foolish, measured against the expanse of the universe, measured against the millions of years of its pulse, the inhabitants of a celestial body seem to be, who know nothing more sensible than to transform the maternal planet, which in and of itself, with paradisiacal generosity, produces for all everything they need, into a veritable hell by making each other's stay unbearable. Also it's a long quotation, but he said that we should not make war here on Earth. It's if we look to Earth from the outside. Also, he also invented the overview effect. If you look from the outside on Earth, you cannot understand this wars and this conflicts which destruct all the generosity of our planet. Okay, Max Valier was the main, I think, the main founder also of the very famous Association for Space Travel, also Verein für Raumschiffahrt. This was the first association for space travel in the world, I think. This Association for Space Travel was founded at the suggestion of Max Valier, which you can read in the journal The Rocket. And this Verein, this Association for Space Travel, was founded on July the 5th, 1927 in the Inn zum Goldenen Zepter in Breslau, Silesia. It's now Poland. And you can see here the building and also the hall, the room where this foundation happened. And this association had about 500 members. And the founding members you can see here, Max Valier, Johannes Winkler, and others which are not so famous. In the statutes of this association for space travel, you had the first paragraph. In the first paragraph was titled with Cultural Task of Mankind. And this was, this paragraph had an addition, and there you can read. There you can read. The association wants to carry out the preparatory work necessary for flight in empty space, and, if necessary, promote it to such an extent that journeys to neighboring celestial bodies can be undertaken. But I think the main thing here is that this first founders of the association of space flight, they understood they understood their work as a cultural task, not as a industrial, not as a military, or not primarily as a technical task. They published the journal Die Rakete, The Rocket, from 1927 to 1930. Here in the first edition, you can see the idea of Max Valier. He had constructed the idea of a rocket airplane, which he thought that this airplane could fly from Berlin to New York in 1.5 hours, from Berlin to New York in 1.5 hours, and with a rocket with a rocket airplane, which which would go to the we say now to the also Leo, then you can fly around the Earth in 1.5 hours. Okay, the rocket, this journal rocket, the rocket had a lot of contents, space science, Einstein's relativity theory, space technology experiments, calculations, space medicine, space law, science fiction, event reports, and interna. And here I show you only one side from Guido von Pirquet from Vienna. The journey to Jupiter. He calculated this this journey to Jupiter, 1929. You can find in this journal theoretical possibilities. Here the rocket on the left side, the rocket from of Obert, and here on the left side, the rocket from Obert, and on the right side you can see a solar-powered electron rocket from Ulinsky. And this is also a very interesting innovation from Ulinsky, because this solar-powered electron rocket is something which is a very actual topic. And in this journal also was discussed the rotating space wheel from Nordung's book, the problem of going to space and the rocket engine. And this rotating space wheel from 1929 was planned as a habitat, as a real rotating space habitat for people in space. There were also realized, not only theoretical, but also realized possibilities, especially the liquid rocket engines, because the liquid rocket engines were the crucial engines to go to space. The first was in Germany, also in, I think in Europe, 1928. Friedrich Wilhelm Sander, he carried out the first European activities with liquid rockets as part of Opel RAC. Then in January 25, 1930, Max Valier, together with Arthur Rudolph and Walter Riedel, carried out the first successful test firing with liquid fuel, 5 minutes, at the Highland Works. This was the foundations for the A series, series from A1 to A4. And 1930 until 1931, Rudolf Nebel, another very important space pioneer, constructed a liquid rocket called Mirak 3 at the world's first rocket training ground in Berlin, Reinickendorf. And in February 21, 1931, Johannes Winkler launched his rocket with liquid methane and liquid oxygen near Dessau. The HW1 HW1 was the world's first methane-powered rocket. On July 12, 2033, as about 100 years after Winkler's first launch attempt of a liquid methane rocket, the Chinese liquid methane, I cannot, I don't know how to read this, Suk-2 finally reached space. You see, as this experiments with liquid methane is very important now in nowadays rocketry. This picture I have taken over from my colleague Wolfgang Both from the Society of Aerospace in Bonn. And you can see here the pictures, realized possibilities, rocket engines from 1930, 1933, 1942. This was a V2 engine, also A4 engine, and then the rocket engine from 1968, which was developed by Wernher von Braun and his team. And this is also from Wolfgang Both, my colleague, from the A4 to space travel. And you can see here in the middle the picture of the A4, V2, V2 from Peenemünde. And on the left side, you see also A4 or V2 in White Sands in the USA. And on the right side, you see also an A4 or V2 in Kapustin Yar in Russia. Also the rocket from Peenemünde was adopted in the USA after the Second World War and also in Russia after the Second World War. I come back to the Weimar Republic. I think this is my research, also my research, or one of my research theses. I think that there are three historical lines of development after Obert. The first line was established by Max Valier. I think he was a spiritus rector of the space movement, with his books, lectures, public experiments, rocket cars, rocket train cars, rocket sleds, rocket airplanes. And he worked together with the companies Opel, Highlandwerke, and Shell. And in the Highlandwerk, as a Highland company, he made his liquid-fueled rocket tests also with a car in Berlin. Then as a second historical line, you have the Hermann Obert, Rudolf Nebel Lai group. And this group was constituted in the context of the film of Fritz Lang called Woman in the Moon. And this three rocket pioneers worked together with Fritz Lang. And Fritz Lang had also then financed a solid full rocket since 1928. And here in this group, you can see that the cultural, it was a cultural institution which financed the rocket and not and not a industrial institution or a university institution or a military institution. Also the first financing comes here for this group from the film, also from a cultural institution from Fritz Lang. And the world's first rocket training ground in Berlin-Reinickendorf with a test series of the Mirak was also a result of this financing of Fritz Lang, also the film director Fritz Lang. And then you have a third group around Johannes Winkler. Johannes Winkler came later also to this training ground group in Berlin-Reinickendorf, but first he was living in Breslau, also today in Poland, and there he was the first chairman of the Association of Space Travel. He was the chief editor of the journal The Rocket, and he launched the first liquid rocket tests near Dessau. This is in East Germany. And later he came to Berlin to the group around Rudolf Nebel on the rocket training ground in Berlin-Reinickendorf. I come now, I think not so much time. It's a short section. I had shortened it very, very much. And I have written also a book about Max Verlier, only about Max Verlier, not in this broader, the broader context, but only about Max Verlier, and this is also in publication. Also Max Verlier, I think he was the main spiritus rector, I said, and organizer of the early space movement, which was no longer just a singular literary phenomenon, but became the first sociological phenomenon of rocketry and space travel. Max Verlier was born in Bozen. It's now in his time it was in Austria. Now I think it's in Italy. And he was, but he worked since his student days and or after his student days in Munich. He lived there in Munich. He was an astronomer, a metaphysician, a publisher, lecturer, science fiction author, initiator of rocket vehicles, organizer of public events, and space pioneer. Sorry. Here you can see some pictures about Verlier and the rocket cars. He made a contract with Opel, Fritz von Opel, in October 1927. And Fritz von Opel was the owner of the Opel company, which produced cars in that time and in Germany. And Fritz von Opel was fascinated about this idea to test the rocket in a car, and they tested it in Berlin on the Avus. This was a famous test. Also, I don't know the English word. Sorry. Here you see the RAK 2, which was driven by Fritz von Opel on May 23, 1928 on the Berlin Avus, and he reached a speed of 230 kilometers per hour. Here you see the RAK 2, a rocket sled, which was built by Max Valier, and he had also a great, very high speed with this rocket sled. But one has to say that this tests or this experiments with rocket cars, rocket train, and rocket sleds and a rocket Motorrad, also a motorcycle, and so on was not meant in this sense that this were technical relevant experiments, but Max Valier thought that with this public demonstrations, they could gain the public mood of the population, and this was the media, the journalists, radio journalists, they were all fascinated by this rocket cars and rocket sleds and so on. And I think Max Valier was successful with this idea to reach the public with these experiments. But he was also a real rocket pioneer. In January until May 1930, Max Valier, Walter Riedel, and Arthur Rudolph. Walter Riedel and Arthur Rudolph were his assistants. Also Walter Riedel and Arthur Rudolph were from the Highland Works and Werke, and they worked together with Max Valier, and they developed liquid rocket propulsion systems at the Highland Werke. And the Highland Werke were specialized to the topic of industrial gas utilization. Max Valier showed this his results also here first on the Avus in Berlin 1929, and this is here very famous the Valier Highland Truck 7 from 1930. This was the first liquid propellant rocket powered car. And this photo is from the German Museum, and you can go there to see it. And here you see a picture or a drawing from Max Valier, which shows his innovation or innovative idea, a stratospheric airplane, which he thought could fly from Berlin to New York in a very short time. And this idea from this stratospheric airplane, this idea of a stratospheric airplane, was adopted also in Russia, and there was a collaboration between Max Valier and Moscow on this topic. Max Valier wrote also science fiction stories, very early, Spiridon Ilux from 1919, very after the First World War, and on a bold journey to Mars. He was involved in the science fiction story Panic from Reinhold Eichacker, and also in Fahrt ins Nichts, as a journey into nothingness. Here you see Spiridion Ilex from 1919, self-published in his own manufacture. And here he this is a very interesting science fiction story, and he in this story he adopted the concept of matter antimatter from from Romanticism. This was long before antimatter was found. Although I think in theoretical terms, the matter antimatter relation was found by Heisenberg, I think, but also was a very early as reflection about this concept, matter antimatter concept, and he thought that with this relation, the Earth and the whole world could be destructed. And in his in this story, there is an involved sadistic genius, and there he adopted the psychopathology by Freud. Yes, Freud, and so on. Here you see Auf kühner Fahrt zu Mars, also on a bold journey to Mars. I only showed you this picture because now the price of this little book is not really a book. This little journal had a price from $3,000. Here you see the book from Otto Willi Geil, also with Max Valier, Der Schuss ins All, the journey into the space. Then you can see here some publications from Max Valier, which he published before his space interests. And in this very early publications, he was interested in the end of the Earth, in the Agamemnon. This is a real word. And here you can see Max Valier's philosophical writings, and Max Valier's triadic metaphysics. I have now not the time to explain this metaphysics, but I think it's also very, very interesting. Max Valier's philosophy included a critique of materialism, Hegelian monism, dualistic worldviews, agnosticism, and his own topoi were revisable metaphysics of creativity, modal ontology, very interesting, modal ontology, unity of physical and psychic being, triadic structure of being. This is my last picture, the triadic ballet from Oskar Schlemmer from the Bauhaus in Dessau. I had also a film about Valier's experiment. I think it's too much now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, Marie-Luise, I thank you very much for your interesting lecture. And I will look if there are some questions. I also would like to welcome the people from the audience, but there are no questions so far. So Adriano, I would like to leave you the word and to ask questions.
Well, yeah, very, very fascinating this presentation of the German Romanticism and the early rocket pioneers in Germany in the past century. I remember we have discussed about that during the preparation of our paper that we published 1 year ago, more or less, about the critical issues before 2030. And so that in the paper there is a chapter talking about the early rocket pioneers in Germany and what that mean as meant for that period with the geopolitics of that time. And yes, of course, there are similarities with the today situation, and it is astonishing to see that what can I say? Humanity is not mature enough to escape this recurring dichotomy between humanistic effort and anti-human tendencies that take place. Yeah, it is yeah, indubbiamente, undoubtedly could be, yes, that there was a stagnant policy of the European leadership that with the so-called green transition is destroying industry in Europe, and without replacing with anything else. So the tragedy is that there was nobody able to think about the real alternative, that is to start developing outside, so to give a boost to the civilian astronautical industry. So nobody was.
Adriano, can you change the view that everyone is seeing on the screen?
Oh yes, sorry. Gallery, yes. Okay. So and that if like 1 century ago, the only futurist effort seems to come from far right tendencies, and but that is a tragedy, because it's not done in the spirit of the whole humanity. It's not done in the spirit of full inclusivity. It's not done for all the peoples of the world. And we have heard Donald Trump to say that he wants to plant a U.S. flag on Mars, like an expression of let me say, American dominant imperialism or something like that. That is a tragedy, and we have proposed opposite to that. Well, not opposite, because we have proposed before. Is about 6 months, yeah, maybe more, that we propose to plant a UN flag on the moon in the name of the whole humanity. And that we have made this proposal to both Artemis and to ILRS so far. And we had no answer by Artemis, even because nobody knows who is the director now. Even the new head of NASA was not confirmed yet. It should be Jared Isaacman. That's not too bad, by the way. Jared Isaacman is a good space activist, let me say. So probably he would be a good director. So we have a combination of very good and very bad things in this turmoil age. And yeah, I think something similar to the years 30s of the past century. But you know what they say, when the history is repeating, the first time was a tragedy, the second will be a farce, a comedy. So we don't know what it will happen. We just can hope now that these terrible wars will end in one or another way. We don't care. I think we shouldn't care about national integrity. We should care about peoples. The concept of peoples is different from the concept of nations. Nations are arbitrary limits that were traced on the geography. But people is different. People have their own history, their own values and languages and so on. So people should be enabled to self-determine what they want to do, where they want to be, and where they want to go. There should not be any limit to migration. So we know that everybody, all the people of Earth were migrant at a certain point of their history, their life. People migrated from Africa, from Asia to Europe and to the north. They changed it, of course. They changed it. They have physiology. They changed everything, but they migrated. People migrated to America. A couple of centuries ago, people migrated over there. The people that lives in America now, they are migrant, and so now people are coming from Africa to Europe because they hope to find better condition of life. And so all of these movements should be free, should be definitely free. We love humanity. We love all humanity, and all humanity should be free. So I hope that a new spirit, a new romanticism will, a new renaissance will born. I don't know if in Europe or not, but maybe why not in Europe? It could be that in this difficult, terrible period, we can take inspiration from our forerunners of the past century, from the Romanticism and from the Renaissance of the 15th century, and make something of really new on the scene of the world. So this is my hope, and these are the thoughts that were inspired to me by your presentation, Marie-Luise. And I think if your presentation is able to inspire this kind of thoughts, yeah, your work is really powerful, and needs to be shown more. And
thank you very much. I had the chance to get a lot of students, and I think in this 5 years at the Technical University, where I could make lectures about the topic of these early space pioneers, fascinated the students, and I got a lot of emails till now. Also, they are teachers and in media and so on, and they have the idea, oh, we had a real great time in this Weimar Republic with inspiration and the enthusiasm of new ideas, and to go out and to develop new things. And I think nowadays in Germany we have an industrial crisis, and I think we now make the same thought. Also I think
Errors.
The errors, genau, errors.
Or mistakes.
Ja, yes, genau. Fault is a more mathematical. Also we make the same mistake, and this mistake is that we we transform the car industry, which is in trouble, to a military industry. Also the car industries, it is planned that the military sections of von Rheinmetall, our military industry company, that he gets people from engineers and scientific people to get involved in this military project. Also they think we can get a solution of the industrial problem with militarization. This is the same mistake, the same error than before 19. So in the time 1933, and I think this credit financed militarization of Germany in the 30s, 1930s, which was planned by Hjalmar Schacht, led in the Second World War, because militarization, if you transform an industrial society into a militarized society, then you have only the chance to go in war, because
when you make
the big problem here in Germany and on all over the world. What I see that there are autocrats and governments, narcissistic people which are very selfish, are governing countries and all over the world. We see it, and it's, as you said, it's like in 1933. There it has been the use they made culpable. What's the English word? They give them they made them guilty, or the reason for all the problems which exist, and now that's all the foreign people. And they deindustrialized Germany, and and now we have this problem, and I'm really concerned. I cannot sleep anymore because the guy who wants to become chancellor in Germany has lied about everything, and he is breaking every rule like Trump is doing in the United States. And
I think it's not the same.
It's also he's starting a coup too, because he wants to get a billion of credit, and it's calling it a Sondervermögen, like special properties or something like this. Also they give it another name, but it's a debt. And it's for generations, and they prepared it before, and the Green Party has been the party who said Schwerter zu Flugscharen. Also they wanted to make arms to other what heißt Flugschar? Also to something for
agriculture
for agriculture instruments, and And now this has been the party who was crying the loudest for war. Our still Minister Exterior, Annalena Baerbock, was calling, yeah, we have to fight. We are in war with Russia. No, we are not in war with Russia. We have nothing to do with this. And I don't know why they are so keen on having a war in every Europe. And now, as the situation in the United States has changed, they think, okay, now we have to be the leading, or Europe has to buy arms and has to go. Yeah, but they are finding a solution for the war. Also we have not to enter in the war, what is finishing, yeah. So,
That
and
will be the
what I
effort.
wanted to add,
Yeah.
one
That
point
will
I
be-
wanted to add.
I want to add also something, because I think it's not the problem of narcissistic people, but here in Europe, the combination of the new Green Deal with militarization is really the same concept, to try to find a solution for an industrial development problem, and like in the 1930s, because the National Socialists, they had had not the idea to industrialize the world. The National Socialists want to deindustrialize world, and this combination of deindustrialization, new Green Deal, and militarization is very rough. It's very horrible.
The
And I
industrial.
think, sorry, one sentence. And I think in the USA, they have not the idea that they want to make an agreement with Russia to reduce armament, to reduce atomic and nuclear weapons. They want to reduce nuclear weapons with Russia.
Yes, but
and they are also not fascinated by a new Green Deal. They stopped it. But it's not the same, I think.
But I have to say,
no, what I wanted just to say is that what we will see now, to solve the industrial problem, to solve the industrialization and so on, that we will see an effort not to build rockets for the benefit of all humanity, to real progress, but to build weapons for that,
yes,
for killing people. So
yes,
this is a very maleficent solution that we are raising in Europe. And
Sabine said it right. The Greens, they had a peace movement in the 1980s, and now and the Greens said, but they had no idea for space. So they had no interest in space, no interest in the civilization of space. And now suddenly they have interest in rockets, but not in rockets to go into space and to civilize moon and the extraterrestrial world, but their interest in rockets only in the military.
Yeah, that is the shame what I'm seeing, and I truly admired in former times Elon Musk, because I thought he is a pioneer, and but if you see what he's doing now, I'm really disappointed what's going on in the United States. And he's very powerful. If you see, he has a leading position in rocket science, and everyone is depending on him. They are depending now on him to bring and pick up the astronauts to the ISS. So he has the communication part with Starlink, internet. He has X. and he has Neuralink, he has Tesla. Also has really, really a lot of power. And I don't know where it is leading through. Yeah, I'm afraid of
What he doesn't
about the
understand,
entire situation in the world. So,
what he doesn't understand is that he is destroying everything. Elon
yes,
Musk is destroying the
yes,
space movement. He's destroying himself. Is destroying Tesla because a lot of Tesla had a fall in the market, enormous, since 2 months ago. And I'm afraid he is also destroying SpaceX
yes.
because we don't know how many of his workers can follow him in his craziness. And you know what happened when in a company that is so and this company is so crucial, is so critical for the opening of the space frontier. So now we are really Elon Musk. How can I say? He lighted the fire under his own creator. That is the point. And I don't know if he is understanding this, that even his personal patrimony is reduced. Maybe he was he was going to 1 trillion personal patrimony, but what we read on the news is that his personal fortune is decaying vertically.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I saw it.
But
Those-
okay, I think Elon Musk is an
So,
idealist, anyway, idealist because he wants really to go into space with all his power. And okay, it's a special case, I think. But
Yes, but
so my students at the Technical University in Braunschweig, they saw in Elon Musk a real hero, a real space pioneer, and
he was so.
and
Yes.
he was he. I think he is a space pioneer also nowadays. Okay, his political actions could be criticized, but I think he has a plan there in the United States to free the innovative forces of the United States. I think this is the plan. I don't think that Elon Musk is a bad person or a corrupt person. I think he has also a plan for the United
I
States.
don't think he's
That,
corrupt. I don't think he's corrupt. I think he's going out of his head. I think he doesn't understand what he's doing now. Because even this choice to give absolute priority to Mars and to trash Artemis and to deorbit the ISS before the time. But why? Why does he need that? Does he need to take money from Artemis and from the ISS to finance the mission to Mars?
this I
That
wanted to say because he is dropping down.
so stupid. By the way, 53 countries signed the Artemis Accords. What will they say to these people? Oh, sorry, we were just kidding. Now, come with us to Mars if you like. If not, okay, the same. So, 53 countries signed that accords of the Artemis. And now we don't know if that will be pursue it or not, and what is happening. So this is a crazy policy.
Yes.
And
He
it's not.
killed Artemis. He is killing ISS because there was a contract and there are many countries involved in this. And now he says, yeah, he can disobey ISS and so. And I think he wants to go to Mars, but I think it's very essential to go to Moon first and to follow these programs. But uh, yeah, he needs to achieve world peace in order to get to Mars. Hold his beer. Yeah, Eirik Isen is saying this, and you are right. Also, we have to achieve world peace, and I'm really, really afraid of a war between Europe and Russia. And I think nobody from the normal people wants to go and wants to have a war. I didn't grow up my children to send them to a war, or I will not see die my grandchildren in a war. So if they want to have a war, then they should fight to each other, Merz and Putin or whatever, and let us alone with this. We don't want to have a war, and we can put our resources, our money spent on other things, in education and infrastructure, and so many nice things. And at the end, this would help us much more than to have a short sight and make a lot of debts, and to develop the military industry. So we have to stop this. We have really to stop this and put our money in other things like education, and this would help the world much more and against poverty and such things. So
Okay.
I want peace, and I think it is
Right.
I think we all
Okay.
want peace, and I think it is a nice closing word.
No.
Not wants to say
No,
something?
the whole stuff of my lecture today had another intention. Also not another intention, but another direction. Because I focused on the Weimar Republic and the space movement of the Weimar Republic, and also on Hermann Ganswind, who was a space pioneer of the 1900 because yes, I think the youth and all people need an inspiration, because now we are so inclined in this political affairs that we have no inner force, or a lot of people that have no inner force to go out, and see that we have beautiful possibilities if we look for other inspirations. And I think this space pioneers of the Weimar Republic in the 1920s, they lived in a time after the First World War. The First World War ended 1918, and just after this First World War, they looked for another way to live and to work and to be creative and to develop new things. And in our days, I think the dreams are green dreams, but these green dreams are very destructive, and we have to to publish and to develop this new ideas which we in the Space Renaissance International have. But Elon Musk is perhaps not the guy which is now a star for our movement. But I think we need something to get out of this trouble. And I think, one way is to look in the tradition where we can find solutions of another society, another worldview. So this, I think, this was my intention, to look in the tradition to find a way out of this trouble.
Yes, but we didn't learn from history, and this is a problem. You mentioned it. We have been there, in 1933, and it has been analyzed, and we all know how it came to the World War Second, and now we have 18 years, 80 years of peace. So and we have not experienced war, and I will not experience war. So, and we have to protect us with everything we can. And I think that is very important. We have to learn from history.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, but now we have in our constitution, also they plan to to include in our constitution that we get climate neutral in 2045 in our constitution. It's
Yes, they want to put
green,
it. It's not clear.
green
By
in
the way,
constitution.
we
A
don't
green
have-
constitution.
we don't have a European constitution yet, because
in Germany,
No,
in Germany.
in Germany.
okay, in Italy also we have a constitution, but a European constitution does not exist, because it was presented maybe 30 years ago, but I think France and the Netherlands voted against. So
No, I said not
European
in the European constitution, but the new Green Deal is a European idea, but now since Saturday
In Germany, after the
in Germany,
elections, they
since
did
Saturday,
it now.
since Saturday, 2 days ago, they decided to.
Yeah, but they voted today, and I don't know what was the vote. I have not seen the news so far. But
Yes,
we
it's
will
a plan.
see.
It's a plan. It's a plan.
They play, yeah.
This combination of
And they want to have their power, their position, and
a green constitution with the military power. It's you can only go to Russia or to go out of this horror.
It's we are at the point where we have been to before. So peace must be the most important goal we have, and because without peace, there is no liberty, there is no freedom, there is nothing, yeah, and there is no space development, nothing if we have no peace. And then we have a dystopic earth, and nobody wants to have it. So let us hope and fight for peace. And Dr. Heuser, I thank you very much for being here with us, and for your lecture. I thank to the audience for being here with us, and Adriano. And I would like to mention our next webinar. It's Eliga Sadeh, and he will talk about, or he will talk about the space revolution and humanity's future. So maybe we can go on discussing the same topic a little bit further. Thank you, Marie-Luise, and I wish you all a good night, nice evening, and I hope for peace.
And thanks to you, Sabine, for your
thank you.
Thank you, Marie-Luise. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.